Captain Vexistar felt the ship shake under his feet. The lights flickered as another system failed. He gripped the command chair and looked at the main screen. Warning symbols flashed red across the display. "Report," he said to his crew. "Main engines are dead, Captain," said his second officer, Nilara. Her blue skin had turned pale with worry. "The power core is failing. We have maybe 6 hours before life support stops working." Vextar closed his large eyes for a moment. The Harmony's Light was supposed to be a simple trading mission. They were carrying gifts and messages of peace from the Zalani coalition to explore new trade routes. Now they were stuck in the middle of empty space. "Can we fix the engines?" he asked. "No, sir, the damage is too bad. We would need a full repair dock," said Chief Engineer Kyloth from his station. The bridge fell quiet, except for the beeping of alarms. Vextar knew what he had to do, but he did not like it. They were in the neutral zone between human and alien space. Any ship that came to help might not be friendly. "Send out a distress signal," he ordered. "Use all frequencies, include the universal emergency codes." "Captain," Nilara said quietly, "what if the humans receive it?" Vextar had heard the stories. Humans were new to space travel, but they had already made a name for themselves. They were said to be violent and quick to fight. Their ships were built for war, not peace. Most alien species stayed away from human space. "We have no choice," he said. "Send the signal." 3 days later, and many light years away, Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison was drinking his morning coffee at Monitoring Station Watchtower 7. It was a boring job most days. He listened to space chatter and watched for any unusual signals. Most of the time, nothing happened. The computer made a soft beep. Jake looked at his screen and saw a new signal had come in. It was weak and broken up, but he could make out the emergency codes. Someone was in trouble. Jake sat up straight and began working on the signal. He cleaned up the static and tried to make sense of the message. It was definitely alien. The language was unlike anything in the human database, but the distress codes were clear. "Computer, enhance audio, and run translation protocol," Jake said. A mechanical voice began to speak. "Emergency, the life support failing. 12 souls aboard. Coordinates follow." Jake felt his heart beat faster. This was the first alien distress call he had ever received. He needed to report this immediately. He opened a channel to Earth. "Command. This is Watchtower 7 calling Earth Command. Priority message for Admiral Carter." "Go ahead, Watchtower 7, came the reply. "I have received an alien distress signal. Sending data now." Admiral Lisa Carter was in her office reviewing fleet reports when the message came in. She was a tough woman who had worked her way up through the ranks. She had seen combat and made the hard decisions that came with command. She listened to the alien message 3 times. Each time, she felt the weight of the decision she would have to make. This could be humanity's first chance to help another species. It could also be a trap. "Get me a list of all ships that can reach those coordinates," she told her aide. The list was short. Most human ships were busy with other missions or too far away. Only one vessel could make it in time. "The USS Retribution is closest, Admiral," her aide reported. "Captain Blake is currently on patrol in Sector 7. Carter frowned. Ryan Blake was a good captain, but he was known for his aggressive tactics. He had never backed down from a fight. His ship was designed for war, not rescue missions. "What's the Retribution's current status?" she asked. "Fully armed and ready for combat operations. Captain Blake recently completed weapons testing on the new plasma cannons." Carter thought about the situation. An alien ship was dying in space. If humans did nothing, 12 beings would die. But if she sent Blake, there was a chance things could go wrong. His reputation for shooting first and asking questions later was well known. She made her decision. "Send orders to Captain Blake. He is to proceed immediately to these coordinates and render assistance. Make it clear this is a rescue mission, not a combat operation." "Yes, Admiral." "And send a message to the diplomatic corps. Tell them we may have first contact with a new species." Aboard the USS Retribution, Captain Ryan Blake received his orders. He was a tall man with gray hair and cold blue eyes. He had fought in 3 different conflicts and had never lost a battle. Blake looked at the alien coordinates on his screen. He did not like unknown situations. In his experience, when things seemed too good to be true, they usually were. Set course. For the coordinates, he told his navigator. Maximum speed. Sir, should we prepare the diplomatic protocols? Asked his second officer, Commander Amy Rodriguez. Prepare for anything, Commander. We don't know what we're flying into. The Retribution was not like other human ships. It was built for war. Its hull was thick armor. Its weapons could destroy entire fleets. The crew was made up of veterans who had seen real combat. As the ship jumped to faster than light speed, Blake studied what little information they had about the distress signal. The alien language was musical, almost like singing, but that did not mean they were peaceful. Time to arrival? Blake asked. 4 hours, Captain, came the reply. Blake nodded and looked out at the stars rushing past. In 4 hours, humanity might make first contact with a new alien species. He just hoped it would not end in violence. But Blake was ready for anything. The Retribution was the most dangerous ship in the human fleet. If these aliens were hostile, they would quickly learn why humans were feared across the galaxy. The ship flew through space toward the unknown, carrying humanity's reputation for both mercy and destruction. Whatever waited at those coordinates would soon discover which side of humanity they would face. The USS Retribution dropped out of faster than light speed at the edge of the distress signal coordinates. Captain Blake stood on the bridge, watching the main screen as sensors swept the area. Contact, Captain, reported Lieutenant Alex Porter from the tactical station. Dead ahead, distance 2,000 kilometers. Blake studied the image that appeared on screen. The alien ship was unlike anything he had ever seen. Where human ships were angular and armored, this vessel curved like a living thing. Soft lights glowed along its hull in patterns that seemed almost like breathing. It's beautiful, whispered Commander Rodriguez. Blake did not care about beauty. He cared about threats. Full sensor scan. I want to know everything about that ship. Sir, the vessel appears to be powerless, Porter reported. I'm reading multiple hull breaches and atmosphere leaks. Life support is failing. How many life forms aboard? 12, sir. All showing signs of distress. Blake made his decision quickly. Prepare a boarding party. I want Marines ready for anything. Rodriguez, you're with me. Dr. Paul Grant looked up from his medical station. Captain, I should go too. If there are injured aliens, they'll need medical attention. Fine. But we go in armed and ready. 20 minutes later, Blake led his team through the airlock and onto the alien ship. The corridors were wider than human ships, with smooth walls that seemed to glow with their own light. The air was thin but breathable. This place feels alive, said Sergeant Kate Murphy, the Marine squad leader. She kept her weapon ready but pointed down. They followed the ship's life sign readings to what appeared to be the bridge. The doors opened with a soft musical tone. Inside, they found 12 aliens in various stages of collapse. Blake had seen many different species in his career, but these beings were striking. They were tall and thin, with skin that shimmered like oil on water. Their eyes were large and expressive, showing intelligence and fear. One of the aliens struggled to sit up. He wore what looked like a captain's uniform. When he saw the humans, his skin flashed bright colors. Please, the alien said in broken English. Help. My people. I'm Captain Blake of the human ship Retribution, Blake said. We received your distress call. The alien captain's eyes went wide. His skin turned a deep blue color. Human. Warship? That's right. We're here to help. Dr. Grant was already moving to check on the other aliens. Captain, they're all suffering. From oxygen deprivation and exposure to radiation. We need to get them to our medical bay immediately. Blake nodded. Murphy, organize the evacuation. As the Marines began carefully moving the aliens, the captain grabbed Blake's arm. His grip was surprisingly strong. I am Vextar, captain of Harmony's Light, he said. We are peaceful people. Diplomats and traders. I understand. You're safe now. Vextar's skin flashed red, then orange. You do not understand. Your reputation, it precedes you. Blake frowned. What do you mean? Humans, known throughout the galaxy as warriors, dangerous, many species, and afraid of your ships. We're not here to hurt you. We're here to help. But your ship, it is a warship, yes? Built for destruction? Blake could not deny it. The retribution was designed to kill. Yes, but that doesn't mean we want to use it. An hour later, all 12 aliens were aboard the human ship. Dr. Grant worked in the medical bay while Blake tried to learn more about their guests. The alien ship's computer had survived the disaster. Lieutenant Sam Collins, the communications officer, was working with Vextar to improve their translation software. Their language is incredibly complex, Collins explained. It's not just words. The color changes in their skin are part of how they communicate. What do the colors mean? Blake asked. Red seems to be gratitude or respect. Blue is fear or concern. Orange appears to be confusion. Blake looked at Vextar, whose skin was currently a pale green. What does green mean? Hope, Vextar replied, but also uncertainty. Commander Rodriguez joined them. Captain, I've been reviewing our cultural database. There's no record of these aliens, but there are references to the Zilani Coalition in some intercepted transmissions. What kind of references? Peaceful traders, they're known for avoiding conflict. Several species have trade agreements with them. Blake felt some of the tension leave his shoulders. So they're not a threat. Sir, came Porter's voice over the comm system. We have 3 ships approaching on long-range sensors. They're moving, fast and not responding to our hails. Blake's military instincts kicked in immediately. How long until they arrive? 6 hours at current speed. Blake looked at Vextar, whose skin had turned bright blue. Are those your ships? Yes, Vextar said. Fleet Singer Zethara commands the escort vessels. They come to retrieve us. Why aren't they answering our calls? Standard protocol. They will not communicate until they can verify our safety. Blake did not like the sound of that. 3 unknown ships approaching his position, maintaining radio silence. In his experience, that usually meant trouble. Commander Rodriguez, prepare the ship for defensive action. I want shields ready and weapons charged. Sir, Rodriguez said carefully, maybe we should wait and see what they want. I'm not taking chances with alien ships I can't communicate with. Vextar's skin flashed bright orange. Captain Blake, please, these are peaceful vessels. My people do not make war. Your people might be peaceful, but I don't know about the ships coming toward us. Dr. Grant's voice came over the comm. Captain, could you come to the medical bay? I have some important information. Blake left Rodriguez in charge and went to see the doctor. In the medical bay, the aliens were recovering. Their skin colors were brighter and they seemed more alert. What did you find, Doctor? These beings are fascinating. Their cellular structure shows genetic modifications that go back thousands of years. But the interesting part is what those modifications do. Explain. They've been genetically altered to reduce aggressive tendencies. Based on my scans, these aliens are literally incapable of violent thought. Blake stared at the recovering aliens. You mean they can't fight? Not won't, Captain, can't. It's been bred out of them over generations. Blake looked at Vextar, who was watching them with those large, intelligent eyes. If these beings truly could not be violent, then the approaching ships were probably just coming to rescue their people. But Blake was a military man. He had learned to prepare for the worst while hoping for the best. The ships approaching his position were still unknown. He would be ready for them, peaceful or not. Keep monitoring their approach, Blake told Porter over the comm, and keep trying to establish communication. Yes, sir. Blake looked out the medical bay window at the stars. In 6 hours, he would find out if humanity's reputation for violence would help or hurt this first contact situation. Either way, the retribution would be ready. The rescued aliens were getting stronger, but Captain Blake was getting more worried. The 3 approaching ships were still not answering any calls. They would arrive in 4 hours. Dr. Grant came to the bridge with a confused look on his face. Captain, I need to ask you something about these aliens. What is it, Doctor? Every time I examine them, their skin turns bright red. I thought they were in pain, but their vital signs show they're fine. Actually, they seem healthier when it happens. Lieutenant Collins looked up from his station. Doctor, red means gratitude in their culture. They're trying to thank you. Grant blinked. Oh, that makes more sense. Blake watched Vextar and his crew through the medical bay cameras. The aliens moved gracefully, and their skin changed colors constantly. It was like watching living art. Collins, how's the translation program coming? Blake asked. Better, sir. But there are still problems. Their language has layers of meaning that our computers can't understand. Commander Rodriguez joined them, on the bridge. Captain, I've been talking with some of the aliens. They're very interested in our ship. What kind of interest? They keep asking about our weapons and defensive systems. Not like they want to copy them, but like they're afraid of them. Blake frowned. Afraid? Sir, I think we need to understand something. To them, we're not rescuers. We're the scary humans they've heard stories about. In the medical bay, Vextar was talking quietly with his second officer, Neil Ara. Her skin kept flashing between blue and purple. These humans, she whispered. Their ship is exactly what the reports said. Built for war. But they saved us, Vextar replied. Did they? Or did they capture us? Vextar looked toward the bridge through the window. Captain Blake seems honorable. But his ship, it has enough weapons to destroy entire fleets. The escort ships will be here soon. What if the humans think they're being attacked? This was exactly what Vextar was afraid of. He had heard the stories about human first contact situations. Humans always assumed the worst. They shot first and asked questions later. On the bridge, Blake was studying the sensor readings of the approaching ships. They were definitely warships, but their design was as elegant as the disabled trading vessel. Still, unknown armed ships making no contact made him nervous. Porter, what's our weapon status? Blake asked. All systems ready, Captain. Plasma cannons charged, missiles loaded. Good. Keep them ready but not targeted. I don't want to appear threatening. Collins suddenly looked up from his station. Sir, I'm picking up some kind of transmission from the aliens in the medical bay. What kind of transmission? They're sending a signal to the approaching ships. Very low power, probably meant to be private. Blake felt his suspicions rise. Can you translate it? Working on it. Got it. They're warning the escort ships about our weapons and defensive posture. Rodriguez looked concerned. Captain, they might just be trying to prevent a misunderstanding. Or they might be planning something. Blake's military training was taking over. Unknown ships approaching, private communications between potential enemies, and no response to his hails. Every instinct told him to prepare for battle. Raise shields, he ordered. Charge all weapon systems. Sir, Rodriguez said carefully, maybe we should talk to Vextar first, after we're ready for whatever's coming. In the medical bay, the aliens felt the ship's power systems change. Vextar's skin turned deep purple with fear. They're preparing for battle, he told his crew. Sub-Captain Lirianda, his young aide, was listening to the humans on the bridge, through the ship's communication system. Her translation device was picking up fragments of their conversation. Target assessment. Firing solutions. Threat level maximum. She whispered. The other aliens heard her words, and their skin began, flashing in panic colors. Purple and black patterns spread across their bodies like waves. We have to do something, Nylara said. If the humans attack our escort ships, it would mean war between our peoples, Vextar finished. But what could they do? They were peaceful, beings on a human warship. They had no weapons, no way to fight back. All they could do was hope that Captain Blake would listen to reason. On the bridge, Blake watched the tactical display. The alien ships were still 3 hours away, but they were maintaining formation like a military unit. Any response to our hails? He asked. Nothing, sir, Collins replied. Complete radio silence. That's not normal for a rescue operation, Rodriguez tried again. Captain, maybe their radio protocols are different from ours. Maybe, but I'm not taking chances. Blake opened a channel to the entire ship. All hands, this is the captain. We have 3 unidentified vessels approaching our position. All crew to battle stations. This is not a drill. The announcement echoed through the ship. In the medical bay, the aliens heard it and their panic grew worse. Battle stations, Lyranda translated. They're going to fight. Vextar made a decision. He had to try to stop this before it went too far. Using his remaining strength, he stood up and walked toward the door. "Where are you going?" Nylara asked. "To talk to Captain Blake. Someone has to prevent this disaster." Vextar made his way, slowly to the bridge. The human crew was busy preparing for battle. Everyone looked tense and ready for action. "Captain Blake," Vextar called out. Blake turned to see the alien captain approaching. Vextar's skin was flashing urgent colors. "You must not attack the escort ships," Vextar said. "They come in peace." "Then why won't they answer our calls?" "It is our way. They must verify our safety first." Blake studied Vextar's face. The alien seemed genuinely worried. "How do they verify your safety without communication?" "They will scan the ship to check our emotional states. If we are afraid or in pain, they will know." "And if they think you're being held prisoner?" Vextar's skin turned pale. "Then they will call for help. Many ships will come." Blake felt a cold feeling in his stomach. If this situation went wrong, Earth could find itself at war with an entire alien coalition. How? "Long before they arrive?" Blake asked. 2 hours, perhaps less. Blake looked at his crew, then back at Vextar. "Can you contact them, tell them we're friendly?" "I can try. But Captain, your ship frightens them. Humans have a reputation throughout the galaxy." "What kind of reputation?" "As warriors who never lose. As beings who destroy their enemies completely." Blake realized the problem. His ship was designed to intimidate enemies. Now it was intimidating potential allies. But it was too late to change that. The escort ships were coming, and they would find a heavily armed human warship with their diplomatic mission aboard. Blake could only hope that when they arrived, someone would be able to explain the situation before the shooting started. The 3 escort ships dropped out of faster-than-light speed exactly 2 hours later. Captain Blake watched them on the main screen, and he did not like what he saw. The ships moved in perfect formation, their elegant hulls glowing with soft patterns of light. They were smaller than the Retribution, but there were 3 of them, and they were not responding to any communication attempts. "Still no answer to our hails, Captain," reported Lieutenant Collins. "Keep trying. Use all frequencies." On the lead escort ship, Fleet Singer Zathara studied the human vessel on her own screen. It was exactly as the reports had described. Angular, heavily armored, and bristling with weapons. This was a ship built for one purpose: destruction. "What is the status of the Harmony's light?" she asked her crew. "The ship is dead in space, Fleet Singer, but we detect 12 life signs aboard the human vessel." "Are they prisoners?" "Unknown. The human ship's shields are raised and weapons are charged. This appears to be a hostile situation." Zathara's skin turned dark blue with worry. If the humans had taken Captain Vextar and his crew prisoner, the Zalani coalition would have to respond. But how do you fight beings who had never lost a war? On the Retribution, Blake was getting more nervous by the minute. "Why won't they talk to us?" "Sir," said Commander Rodriguez, "maybe we should lower our shields. Show them we're peaceful." "With 3 armed ships out there? Not a chance." Lieutenant Porter looked up from his tactical station. "Captain, the lead ship is powering up some kind of scanning array." Blake's blood ran cold. "Targeting sensors?" "Unknown, sir. The energy signature is unlike anything in our database." In the medical bay, Vextar felt the scanning beam pass over the ship. His skin immediately began flashing in complex patterns. This was the standard Zalani greeting protocol, but he knew the humans would not understand. "They're scanning us," he told his crew. "Fleet Singer Zathara is checking our emotional states." "What will she find?" asked Nilara. "Fear, confusion, worry." Vexatar's skin turned pale. "She will think we are prisoners." On the bridge, Collins was working frantically to understand the alien scan. Captain, it's not a weapon scan, it's reading biological signatures. What kind of biological signatures? I'm not sure, but it's focused on the medical bay where the aliens are being treated. Blake made a quick decision. Porter, target the lead ship, prepare to fire. Sir, Rodriguez protested, they might just be checking on their people. Or they might be preparing to attack. I won't let them get the first shot. Vextar heard the conversation over the ship's communication system. His translation device was working better now, and he understood the deadly words being spoken. Target the lead ship. Prepare to fire. He had to act quickly. Vexitar left the medical bay and ran toward the bridge as fast as his weak legs could carry him. On the escort ship, Fleet Singer Zethara received the scan results. Her crew's faces showed shock and fear. The Zilani aboard the human ship are terrified, reported her scanner operator. Their emotional states show extreme stress and fear for their lives. Then they are prisoners, Zethara said grimly. Signal the other ships. Prepare for rescue operations. The 3 escort ships moved into attack formation. Their hulls began glowing brighter as they powered up their defensive systems. On the Retribution, Porter watched his tactical display with growing alarm. Captain, the alien ships are taking aggressive positions. Their energy output is increasing. Weapons? Unknown, sir. Their technology is different from ours. Blake had seconds to make a decision. 3 alien ships in attack formation, unknown weapons charging, and no communication. Everything pointed to a hostile intent. All ships prepare to fire, he ordered. At that moment, Vextar burst onto the bridge. His skin was flashing urgent red and orange patterns. Captain Blake, stop, he shouted. They are not attacking. Blake turned to face the alien captain. Then, why are they in attack formation? It is not attack formation, it is protective formation. They think you have taken us prisoner. Collins looked up from his station. Sir, communication failure. Our main transmitter just went offline. Blake cursed, under his breath. Now they could not even try to explain the situation. How long to repair? He asked. At least 30 minutes, Collins replied. We don't have 30 minutes. On the escort ships, Fleet Singer Zethara made her own decision. Signal the human ship. Demand the release of our people. A beam of energy lanced out from the lead escort ship toward the Retribution. It was not a weapon, but the human ship's computers did not know that. Incoming fire, Porter shouted. Shields holding, came the report from engineering. Return fire, Blake ordered. Target their weapon systems. No, Vextar screamed. It is not weapon. It is communication beam. But it was too late. Blake's finger was already moving toward the firing control. In seconds, the most advanced weapons in the human fleet would unleash destruction on the Zilani escort ships. Captain, wait! Dr. Grant's voice came over the comm system. I need to tell you something important. Blake's hand stopped inches from the firing button. What is it, Doctor? The aliens in the medical bay. I just discovered something about their biology. They're not just peaceful by choice, they're peaceful by design. Explain quickly. Their genetic modifications go back thousands of years. These beings have been bred to be incapable of aggressive thought. They literally cannot conceive of violence. Blake looked at Vextar, whose skin was now flashing desperate patterns of color. Is this true? Yes, Vextar said. My people, we have not known war for 3,000 years. We cannot fight. We can only seek peace. Blake stared at the tactical display. 3 ships full of beings who could not even think violent thoughts, trying to rescue their people from what they thought was a hostile situation. Sir, Porter said urgently, the escort ships are charging more systems. If we're going to fire, it has to be now. Blake looked at the firing controls, then at Vextar, then back at the screen showing 3 beautiful alien ships that had come to rescue their friends. His finger hovered over the button that would start humanity's first interstellar war. A war against people who could not even defend themselves, Captain? Porter asked. Blake's military training warred with his growing understanding of the situation. These were not enemies. They were rescuers, just like he was supposed to be. But they did not know that. and with communications down, there was no way to tell them. The next few seconds would determine whether humanity became known as saviors or destroyers to an entire galactic civilization. Blake had to choose. Captain Blake's finger stopped just above the firing button. Dr. Grant's words echoed in his mind. These aliens could not even think about violence. They were as peaceful as living beings could possibly be. "Stand down weapons," Blake ordered. "Sir?" Lieutenant Porter looked confused. "I said stand down. Lower shields and power down all weapon systems." "Captain," Commander Rodriguez said carefully. "Are you sure about this?" Blake looked at Vextar, whose skin was flashing grateful red patterns. "Dr. Grant, get on the comm system. Tell our guests to do something that shows their ships were friendly." In the medical bay, the other Zilani heard Dr. Grant's request. They immediately began focusing their thoughts on gratitude and relief. Their skin lit up in bright, warm colors. On the escort ships, fleet singer Zethara watched her scanners in amazement. "The emotional readings are changing," her operator reported. "The Zilani aboard the human ship, they're expressing gratitude and joy." "That makes no sense if they were prisoners." "Fleet singer, the human ship is powering down weapons and lowering shields." Zethara stared at her display. A human warship was making itself completely defenseless. Either this was a trap, or something very different was happening. Lieutenant Collins worked frantically on the communication system. "Got it," he announced. "Main transmitter is back online." "Open a channel." "To the lead ship," Blake ordered. "All frequencies." "Channel open, sir." Blake took a deep breath. "This is Captain Ryan Blake of the Earth vessel Retribution. We received a distress signal from the ship Harmony's Light and responded to render assistance. We have 12 survivors aboard our ship receiving medical treatment. They are not prisoners. Repeat, they are not prisoners." On the escort ship, fleet singer Zethara heard the transmission. The words were translated into her own musical language. She looked at her crew in surprise. "Fleet singer," her scanner operator said, "the emotional readings confirm his words. The Zilani aboard are not afraid of the humans, they are grateful." "Open a return channel," Zethara ordered. Her voice came through the Retribution speakers like a song. "This is fleet singer Zethara of the Zilani Coalition. We apologize for the misunderstanding." Blake felt relief wash over him. "No apology needed. We understand your concern for your people." "Captain Blake, we must ask, why did a human warship respond to our distress call?" Blake looked at Vextar, who nodded encouragingly. "Because you needed help." There was a long pause before Zethara replied. "We had heard stories about humans, about your military strength and aggressive nature." "The stories are probably true," Blake admitted. "But being strong doesn't mean we want to hurt peaceful people. This is unexpected." Vexitar stepped forward and spoke into the communication system. "Fleet singer, these humans saved our lives. Captain Blake and his crew showed us only kindness." "Captain Vextar, we are relieved to hear your voice. Are you well?" "Yes, thanks to human medical care. Dr. Grant healed our radiation sickness." "Fleet singer." Zethara made a decision. "Captain Blake, may we come aboard your ship? We would like to meet the humans who saved our diplomatic mission." Blake smiled for the first time in hours. Permission granted. 2 hours later, the conference room aboard the Retribution was filled with humans and Zilani. The aliens' skin glowed with soft, peaceful colors as they talked with the human crew. Fleet singer Zethara was an impressive being, tall and graceful, with skin that shimmered like starlight. She sat across from Blake, studying him with large, intelligent eyes. "Captain Blake," she said, "we owe you a great debt, not just for saving our people, but for showing restraint when you could have destroyed us. You came to rescue your friends, I understand that, but you could not have known our intentions. Your reputation suggested you would shoot first and ask questions later." Blake felt uncomfortable. "What exactly have you heard about humans?" Zethara's skin shifted to thoughtful blue patterns. "Stories of your encounters with the Craxi Raiders, how you destroyed their entire fleet when they attacked your colonies." "The Craxi were pirates and murderers," Blake said firmly. Yes, but you showed them no mercy. And the Vorthon Empire learned to avoid human space after your conflicts with them. Commander Rodriguez leaned forward. We defend ourselves and protect innocent people. That's what our military is for. This is what we did not understand, Zethara replied. In our culture, strength is used only for protection. We assumed humans used strength only for conquest. Doctor, Grant spoke up. Your people have evolved beyond violence. That's remarkable. It was a choice our ancestors made long ago. They saw that violence only brought suffering, so they changed themselves to remove that possibility. Blake found this fascinating. But how do you protect yourselves from hostile species? We ally ourselves with others who share our values. Or, Zethara's skin flashed a knowing color. We hope that stronger species will protect the weak. Blake began to understand. You want humanity to protect the Zalani coalition. Not just protect. We propose an exchange. Our people have developed technologies for healing, environmental restoration, and peaceful exploration. We would share these with humanity. In exchange for your protection against the darker forces in the galaxy. There are species out there that respect only strength. Blake looked around the room. His crew seemed interested, and the Zalani were glowing with hopeful colors. I'll have to discuss this with Earth Command, Blake said. Vextar spoke up. Captain Blake, there is something else. The Zalani coalition includes many peaceful species. Word of your rescue will spread throughout our networks. What do you mean? Other species will learn that humans can be trusted, that your warships come to help, not to conquer. Blake realized the implications. This rescue mission could change humanity's reputation throughout the galaxy. Fleet Singer Zethara stood up. Captain Blake, we would like to invite you and your crew to visit our homeworld. Our leaders wish to meet the humans who turned a potential disaster into the beginning of friendship. Blake smiled. I'll request permission from my superiors. 3 days later, Blake sat in his quarters composing his report to Admiral Carter. The Zalani ships had escorted the Retribution to the edge of human space, and the journey had been filled with cultural exchanges and learning. Admiral Carter, he wrote, mission status, successful beyond expectations. The rescue operation has resulted in first contact with the Zalani coalition, an alliance of peaceful species with advanced technologies and strong diplomatic connections throughout the galaxy. He paused, thinking about how to explain what had happened. The Zalani offer to share their peaceful technologies in exchange for human protection against hostile forces. This could position humanity as protectors rather than aggressors in galactic politics. Blake looked out his window at the stars. The reputation that had made him feared might now make him trusted. Recommend immediate diplomatic contact with Zalani leadership. Request permission to escort Zalani representatives to Earth for formal negotiations. He finished the report and sent it to Earth Command. The response came back within hours. Captain Blake, mission parameters expanded. Proceed to Zalani space as official escort for diplomatic meetings. Try not to start any wars before you get there. Admiral Carter. Blake laughed and typed his reply. No promises, Admiral, but I'll do my best to keep the peace. As the Retribution changed course toward Zalani space, Blake reflected on how much had changed. He was still the captain of humanity's most dangerous warship, but now that danger would be used to protect the innocent instead of just defeating enemies. The SOS signal had reached Earth and a dangerous human warship had arrived. But sometimes, the most dangerous protector makes the most trusted guardian. The stars ahead held the promise of new friendships and alliances, and Captain Blake was ready to help humanity take its place as protector of the peaceful species of the galaxy.